So here's the question I keep getting from y'all. Is the X4 worth the price of upgrading? And to that I'll say, well, kind of depends on what you're using it for and what you're upgrading from. I'll elaborate on this idea throughout the video, and while I can't make that decision for you, hopefully by the end of this video you will know for sure if this camera is for you or not. Now, throughout this video, I'll be comparing the X4 to its predecessor over here, the X3, and of course the One RS 1-inch 360 edition. I'll be comparing all three cameras in my professional video workflow. Let me say that again because I'm not using these cameras for fun. I'm using them to make money running a real life company and not just for creating social media clips to share with friends and followers. I'm testing these cameras on the job with paying clients, and those clients will not be afraid to tell me if it looks bad, and I'm gonna relay all that feedback back to you now. Let me set these down. What's the deal, everyone? I'm Jeremy Deal, and if you're new here, I talk about being a full-time creative with a focus on running a real estate visuals marketing company and, obviously, of course, the gear it takes to do that. Put these back down. All right, Insta360 did send me out this camera for testing a few months ago. Again, thanks, Tom. But all the testing and comparisons are done by me and 100% my opinion. Counter to what most people think watching these videos, just because they send out these cameras to test does not mean they have any say-so in the finished video you're watching. That being said, I want to test it against the two cameras it's here to replace, of course. The X3 and the One RS 1-inch 360 edition, which I will be calling the One for the rest of this video, because let's be real, it's way easier to say over and over again. All right, first one, X3. When compared to each other, the size and shape are extremely similar, with the X3 being a little bit wider and stubbier than the X4. The two big differences with the bodies of the camera, while the X3 has a sticky replacement style lens cover, the X4 has that new screw-on design, which I much prefer. While the lens covers have definitely saved my butt with both of these cameras, the stitch line is always better without those lens covers on, so being able to quickly take them off the X4 is actually a huge design advantage for me personally. The X4 also tends to heat up with the long use in 8K mode. I personally run the camera on 8K till the battery died, and while it got hot on the outside, it never actually overheated and turned off. I'm assuming that's why they've included the thermo grip with this newer camera for not only a better holding experience, and it actually kind of helps cool the camera with more crevices and cracks to catch all the wind. Either way, so far the X4 for me is beating the X3 in design. And then when you compare it to the design of the One, there's no real comparison. I love this camera for its large sensor and its HDR bracketing process, but I have always hated the modular design of the camera with the weird battery swap out of the bottom. But can't deny, it does look pretty cool with these giant Leica lenses on top. The screen for the One is way too small, it's hard to navigate, and overall, in my opinion, it's a hands down, once again, win for the X4 and this one too. Design and in-hand functionality are important, but not near as important as the performance of the camera itself for photo and video. So how does it stack up against these other two? Well, before we answer that, I'm going to solve another problem you're currently having with your real estate deliveries, and I'm going to increase your agent's average spend per order at the exact same time. This portion of the video is sponsored by Virtual Staging AI. I want to tell you about today's video sponsor, virtualstaging.ai. It does not matter if you're a professional photographer in the real estate space, a brokerage running a team, or a single agent wanting to increase the look and feel of their brand online, then virtualstaging.ai is a no-brainer for you. It's not only the cheapest virtual staging you can find, it's the best AI-driven product out there and has multiple styles of furniture and room types to choose from. They're even working on a declutter option, so now you can remove the furniture that's there and replace it with styles that match your feel and vibe. Check out my link down below where you can find a nice size discount, and when you sign up, it also helps this channel grow in the process while using a website I currently use with my clients for deliveries. So it's something I stand behind. All right, I'll be honest and say when it comes to the very basic 360 photo options, we'll go back with the X3 and X4. They both produce a fairly similar image, with the X4 coming out ahead in dynamic range and having much less of that digitally sharp looking image. I think the X4 again wins here, but only by a small margin. And most people who are not full-time photographers might have a hard time discerning between the two final images. Where the X4 does not win actually is against the One. This camera here is still king. And when it comes to the best bracketed HDR image you can get from one of these smaller handheld 360 cameras, While the X4 is not too far off, you can really tell when you look at the dynamic range comparisons. Since the One has a 9-stop bracketed shot that's much more internally advanced with its control options, the One is still my choice for creating cooler 360 tours for clients. Not saying you can't use the X4 for this purpose, because I've delivered multiple properties using this camera with the Cooler Tour platform. Just saying, if you already own the One and this is what you use it for, well, there's no real need to consider the X4, because if you have this one and all you do is photos, well, then you already have the best camera for the job. Where the big difference starts to shine is the second you put this X4 into any video mode. Every single video mode on the X4 outperformed both the X3 and the One, and it did that by what I would consider very large noticeable margins. Obviously, the X3 does not even have 8K mode, and the One only has 6K, so there's not really much to compare there. Once you turn that sharpening all the way down in the settings, the 8K on the X4 produces is not that over sharpened digital looking image we're so used to seeing from the smaller multi-use sensors like this one or this one or this one. I was happily surprised the first time I saw the footage from the X4 after having the X3 for so long. And more than that, all the video modes from the X4 produce a very usable and not so cheap looking image. I know I'm kind of harping on the same point in multiple different ways here, but in honesty, it was the biggest shock for me with this camera. Even though the One has a bigger sensor, to my surprise, the X4 was still the clear victor here, especially when you put the two cameras in low light situations where you'd think the One would win. The One beat the X3, but in my opinion, both of those cameras are still suffering from that same digital video look. So much less grain, less digital sharpening, less oversaturation, better color and contrast fall off in the shadows, more dynamic range with less obvious use of computer algorithms to create that real-time HDR look in the past. That crappy digital look that plagues all of these cameras is simply much harder to find here. Don't get it twisted. It's no FX6, but I do mix in clips from this camera and my full-frame Sony, and clients can never tell the difference. And that's more than I can say about the other two cameras we're comparing it to this time. As someone who uses all three of these cameras in a professional workflow for client deliveries, the way the X4 handles low light situations like dark rooms and real estate is night and day when you compare it to the X3 or the One. After all my testing over the last few months of using the X4 in the field of, again, my professional workflow, I know for sure which of these three cameras work, and I know which three I would use, but I'd love to hear the comments below, what you think, and did this video help you make a choice for which camera you want or if you need to upgrade? As always, keep rocking and rolling, enjoy what you're doing, make smart business decisions, and I'll catch you next time. Boom!